In case you missed it, a couple of days ago we finally got a trailer for the next Tron movie, and if you ask me, that trailer is looking really good. Like, it had some sweet effects in there, and it definitely got me hyped for the next movie. But because we can't watch that movie until I think October, I thought the next best thing is to give Tron Legacy another shot. And all I remember is that back in the day, this movie got some very harsh criticism. So earlier today, I watched Tron Legacy, and in this video I want to dive a bit deeper into some of the thoughts I have on this movie. And to give this video some structure, I decided to categorize it into 4 questions that I want to answer in this video. And the first question I want to answer is, were the critics right? So one aspect that this movie was apparently heavily criticized for was that it had a weak story and weak character development. The story was often described as thin, and the character development, especially around Sam Flynn, was described as unsatisfying. And to that, I can only really say I get where they're coming from. Like, yes, the story wasn't amazing and the character development wasn't amazing, but while I was watching the movie, this didn't bother me for 1 second. Like, I think the movie didn't need an overly complex story. Like, the world had so much to offer, like that whole aspect of them getting sucked into this digital world and wanting to escape, and all the intricacies about the differences between users and programs and the different games they were playing in that world. Like, the world was so interesting that I think the story was perfectly good enough, and I really liked that aspect about the bad guy, that yes, he was the bad guy, but he was only the bad guy because he misinterpreted the mission of creating the perfect system. Like, I really like that about his character. And the character of Sam Flynn for me also was perfectly passable. Like, yeah, he wasn't amazing, sure, but I think he was just an interesting character that you could empathize with, and that was perfectly good enough for what the movie needed. Like, I liked his character. I think he was funny. I liked kind of that he was a tech savvy, but also rode a bicycle. Yeah, it didn't bother me for 1 second that we didn't get more about this character. Some other things this movie was heavily criticized for were the expository dialogue and also some pacing issues, especially in the middle part. And to the expository dialogue, I feel like, yes, we got a lot of exposition just in form of a conversation or monologue, but there were also many aspects in this movie that could have been explained by exposition, but that we had to figure out visually. Like, Sam Flynn was just thrown into this world, and then he had to figure out, like, what are programs, what is this world, how do these games work, and we didn't get any exposition there. So in certain parts of the movie, I really liked all the visual clues, but yeah, sure, in the middle part, that's also what I noticed while watching, is that in the middle part, the movie kind of loses you with a lot of exposition and very little action, and like, we get that timer aspect, that deadline that the portal is about to close, but we never really get to know when it's going to close. So we have a timer, but we don't know how many minutes or hours that timer is, so that kind of defeats the purpose of having a timer. So the pacing issues I can totally understand, but the exposition, I think, overall was perfectly fine for me. And of course, another big criticism point was the uncanny valley de-aging effects. And to those, I really have to say, they didn't really bother me. And really, for the year 2010, I think they were impressive. And supposedly this was one of the first, or the first movie to use de-aging effects that aggressively and feature them that prominently. And sure, if you're doing that for the first time, it won't look perfect, but it was a very important step in the world of de-aging effects for them to be as good as they are now. So I don't really get why they're criticized that heavily, and honestly, while I was watching the movie, it didn't really bother me that much. Like, there were some moments where they were certainly off-putting, but whenever we got, like, the normal aged actor and then his digital clone with the de-aging effect, in those situations it never bothered me, because having him be the digital clone, I think that de-aging effect kind of blends into the aspect of that he's a digital clone, so he's not perfect and also digital, so that would explain some of his weird appearances. So in those situations, after a while, I just didn't notice them anymore. But yeah, sure, there were like from a technical perspective, they didn't hide the de-aging effects. So on the one hand, I have to say, yes, you can see that they're not perfect, but on the other hand, man, respect to the filmmakers for like going out there and knowing that their de-aging effects are not perfect, but just putting them out there and showing them to people. So yeah, gotta respect them for that. So to now kind of answer the question of were the critics right, I would say yes, the critics were right to criticize certain aspects of this movie because it certainly wasn't perfect. Yes, it has some pacing issues, and yeah, the story wasn't that amazing, and the character of Sam Flynn wasn't like a super deep character. But I think what many critics missed is just the amazing world building that we get, the amazing visuals, and the great music. Like, when I rewatched this movie earlier today, and also when I watched the trailer for the new Tron movie, I only then realized how much that music was kind of emotionally embedded into me. Like whenever that music started, sometimes I got goosebumps. So yeah, that speaks volumes, I think. And also, yeah, the world, as I already said, was amazing. And also the visuals, like, damn, for the year 2010, this movie looked amazing. And I really like the costumes and how the world looked, and also from a technical perspective, how they made it come to life. It'll be really interesting to see how the effects of the new Tron movie are and how they compare to this old movie with really good effects. So yeah, that's my take on the critics. And the next question I want to answer is, did this movie hype me for the next Tron movie? And there I have to say, definitely. Like, rewatching this movie, I really enjoyed it, and seeing the trailer for the new movie, like, I can't wait to find out how they continue the story. That's one aspect that I only now really noticed when watching this movie again, knowing that there's going to be another Tron movie, is that in Tron Legacy, they don't really show us the death of Tron. And that's also one thing that I can get that it's criticized about the movie, is that we really didn't get that much Tron. So I certainly hope we're going to get more of Tron in the next Tron movie, which would kind of make sense if you think about the name. And if I'm interpreting the trailers right, I think we're getting more of him, but let's wait and see. But I will be definitely on board for that. And yeah, can't wait to see this visual style with the technology of 2025. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, or at least I hope so. Next question, what were my 3 favorite scenes? So my first favorite scene was the first motorcycle battle. Sweet. I mean, this movie really shows its effects. Like, it knows that it has some good effects. I like that. Can't wait for the motorcycles in the new Tron movie. As I already said, this movie had some stunning visuals, but this motorcycle battle was, I think, one of those moments where these visuals really came to shine. And also like that how Sam Flynn was just thrown into this world, and first he had this disc battle, and then he arrived at this motorcycle battle, and just had to figure things out as they go. And we didn't need much exposition. We got enough visual cues to figure out what's going on. And yeah, the visuals were just amazing. Like the slow-mo transformation or appearance of this motorcycle. Really awesome scene. My next favorite scene was the entrance of the Maker. Oh, there you go. There he is. The Maker. Ooh. I like that jacket. Yeah, I think my reaction says it all. Like, just a really cool moment. Like, that was the first time that we actually saw him in action, and it was cool to see what he does. And of course, like, I really like the costume of that cape and then that lighting from the inside. And until this point, we only saw him meditating in his off-grid house, but he created all this, and he's been here for 20 years. I mean, he is the Maker, so I like that he gets a cool entrance. And my third favorite scene was just Michael Sheen having a good time. Couldn't get it. And with this crazy guy up there. This actor, man. He's just having a good time. What can I say? Like, Michael Sheen is just an amazing actor. Like, he's been in so many different roles, and he's played so many different characters, and every time it's amazing to watch him. And I think in this one, like, it's just cool to see an actor have a good time. And in this movie, or in that scene particularly, I think he definitely had a good time and yeah, really gave it his all and yeah, was amazing to watch. And the last question, were there any deeper themes in this movie? So I often like to explore, especially when I'm watching movies now as an adult versus when I first watched them as a kid or teenager, to see if I notice any deeper or adult themes that I maybe didn't notice as a kid. But in this movie, I don't know, maybe I missed them, but I didn't find that many. Like, there is that whole theme about how we should stop seeking perfection and that sometimes things are perfectly imperfect. And as represented by the character of Quorra, sometimes perfect things will just happen when the conditions are right without you trying to force perfection on them. And especially shown by the antagonist, like, seeking perfection will not produce or not always produce the best outcome. And it's definitely a nice message that's kind of intertwined throughout the entire story of the movie. I really like that message, but I think it's not really like a deeper message. I'm sure I also noticed that as a kid, but yeah, still a great message nonetheless. So those were some of my thoughts on Tron Legacy in greater detail. Yeah, overall, I had a blast watching this movie again. I can definitely recommend you check it out again, or if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. I think it's a really good movie that's worth watching. And if you're interested and haven't already seen it, you can check out my reaction on Tron Legacy. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.